Welcome to the ugly truth. God, what was that? Good God.
No, normally your big black kitty Baxter is sitting here next to me, and I haven't seen him. So
Well, I've noticed that with the weather being so cold, they've been trying to find places that are warmer. So they've been sleeping on my bed where they can kind of snoodle up into the like the little folds of the down mattress or the down quilt. And Daryl hates it. He hates it because he's like, look,
everywhere.
He's like, I don't mind them being with you when you're drinking your coffee in the morning. He goes, but if you're not going to be in here, I don't want these animals thinking this is another rest area. They have every house. They have every room in the house. Their fur's everywhere. I'm like, all right,
well,
God, fine.
That's true. And you have white bedding.
Well,
I don't know if it still is. Last time I went in your room, it was.
No, Daryl put a different duvet. He prides himself on making the bed. I don't know why.
Oh.
I told him, I
make my bed every day.
I go, well, no. I mean, like when I strip the bed, I'm like, okay, I'm going to change the sheets or whatever.
Replacing the things, yeah.
He loves to make the bed. I'm like, what's wrong with
God, because I hate it.
He makes the bed, and then he loves going, well, okay, this is the thing. He likes to make the bed because I go upstairs and do my nightly routine.
Yeah.
And he gets to play video games.
Right.
So I think he feels like this is his pay. Like this is
his penance.
This is his penance so that he can feel guiltless.
So if everything is super nice and fluffy and clean, and
he goes,
then
honey,
you can enjoy it, and he can be downstairs.
He goes, Bob's Burgers on, your iPad's all charged, you have everything. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. As if I don't know what's happening. He goes, okay, I'll be up in a minute. I'm like, all of a sudden I hear this, behind. Oh, I didn't see that guy. And I'm like, okay.
But it's okay, fine. Isn't it?
The first time he did it.
Does it get on your nerves?
No.
That he plays, I mean.
No, not at all. Are you kidding?
Okay.
I love it. Because
a lot of women get really upset about that. And I do not understand why.
I don't care at all.
Like whatever they're.
No, it's like for him, there are 3 things that he really, really does
for himself
decompress from the day. He loves to do the dishes. I hate the way he loads the dishwasher, but he loves to do the dishes. And what I don't like about it is that's all he does. He doesn't wipe anything off. He doesn't.
God, it's my life.
He doesn't rinse the sink. Nothing. He just loads the dishes.
God.
If he's feeling froggy, he'll hand wash some stuff, but he's got to be really, really needing to decompress. He loves to make the bed after I've stripped it. And he loves to kill things on Call of Duty. It's his very favorite thing. And he's got a little crew now. He's got like 3 or 4 guys that he likes to play with.
Son.
So he does that, and he's usually done like hour and a half or whatever, unless it's like a weekend.
Nothing.
No,
yeah,
it's nothing.
My son, I have to like go in there to make sure he's still alive.
Yeah, exactly.
If he's not screaming at the top of his lungs.
I know. So no, I have absolutely no beef with it. I guess if I had small children and he was playing while I was trying to do stuff.
If he was neglecting duties
that would be different.
Responsibility, 100%.
But you know, what's cool is, like I was saying earlier, the fact that we're officially empty nesters.
Yeah.
And we're still pretty young.
Yeah.
It's like, every once in a while I look at him and I'm like, we could do whatever we want.
It's a dream.
We can do whatever we want. He goes, I know, isn't it crazy? And I'm like, do you want Taco Bell? And he's like, I do. So we'll go get Taco Bell at like 11 o'clock at night.
It's the best.
And we're like, this is the best burrito I've ever had.
Jamie.
No one asked me like, you got Taco Bell? And I didn't get it.
I know.
Like,
what'd you get me?
Nothing.
Oh my God, it's the best.
I love it. I'm like, people make fun of people who are older. We're not even that old, but it's like.
Jamie's so not old.
They're like, we had popcorn and champagne for dinner.
It's the best.
So?
I'm telling you, you said something funny to me. I was like we were talking about last week, how I'm going through the grieving process.
Yes.
I have lived on DoorDash and Postmates and Uber Eats for 2.5 weeks.
Fine.
To where I never thought I'd get sick of it, but I did. I'm
you do. Yeah, you are like, I think I want to cook something.
Yeah, I did. And my son was so grateful.
Oh, I know. You know,
he enjoyed it too for a while, but you know, one of the things you lose when you're grieving is like the routine that you had before that day.
You're like, I just need to make a piece of meat, man.
Like seriously, like he's like, you made pasta and chicken Alfredo?
I did. He's like, oh my God, this is so good.
Like, I did.
There's something about it. It's true. Like, I mean, it's like in the old days when someone would lose a spouse and
everybody brings you a lasagna
and casseroles and desserts. Like, unfortunately, like a couple years ago, it was right after COVID ended. Some very dear friends lost parents.
I remember.
And it was like one after the other. It was very quickly, one after the other. And all I did, and I think it's our ancestry from the Midwest roots, I sent the biggest chocolate cake I could get.
Oh, lovely.
And then the other one, I sent the biggest carrot cake I could get.
Yeah,
like
that's
these
nice.
hearty, thick, sweet cakes. God. Because it's like, first of all, when you're nobody eats.
You know what? You know what it is? It's that the effort to eat, one, to make something or even order something is more than you have. And two, once you get it, the effort to even eat it is too much.
But they took it to the after service and everybody ate and talked about their loved one. And it was amazing. And I'm like, that's exactly why you do that.
Yeah, and you know what? If I had a chocolate cake at my house, that's probably the only thing I would have eaten because all I had to do was slice it, and then I would have something in my stomach.
Actually, no, it's great. You can just eat it with a fork
or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Though, but it requires no thought, no effort.
You can just pull it out and eat it.
Yeah.
It's so true. Yeah. Speaking of, you had a lovely errand that you had to run today, and you're gonna have to tell me.
It's not funny. I'm not laughing like this is funny. So
there's humor in everything, by the way.
Yeah. Well, ultimately there always is. So I had to pick up my husband's ashes today from the funeral home. It was the last thing that I had to do to end this, the immediate part of, when you lose somebody. And so I kept my son home from school today. It was a holiday for me and it wasn't for him. So I ended up keeping him home. And we decided to go get something to eat before. Now, originally, I had this really great place that was it's like a brunch spot, and they're open to 3.
Oh, okay.
And it was, oh my God, it looks so good. I really wanted to go. But my child moves like you. He's never ready till noon. And even when I tell him at 8 a.m., he's like, all right, so he moseys on in the shower around 10:30,
Does he sit on his bed in a towel for an hour?
Yes, he was in the shower for an hour and then did that too. So by the time, now we were pressed for time because we had an appointment at 1:00 and we had to be there, but we were starving because neither of us had eaten. And so I had this brilliant idea. I don't know what possessed me to do this. You're going to be like, what the fuck, Stephanie?
What'd you do?
We went to an all-you-can-eat buffet.
What?
You were I immediately, as we were pulling into the parking lot, I started getting anxiety. I'm like, why am I here? But then I was committed.
Wait, where is there an all-you-can-eat buffet?
On Sunrise Boulevard.
Hold on.
It's a hibachi sushi.
Okay, I'm like,
it's new.
I'm like, is it a Golden Corral?
No, I don't even. God, I wish. I would have killed for a Golden Corral.
Oh God,
they don't exist anymore.
No.
Chain buffets were actually the best.
Okay, I know. Okay.
I should have gone to Sizzler. That's what I should have done. I didn't even think about it.
There is a Sizzler over by you,
right by my house.
Okay,
so we.
I know where you went.
I decided that this would be a good idea, and my son is absolutely clueless. Now, what was interesting to me about the whole experience was that I realized what a what's the word I'm thinking of? My son is a diva,
what?
But I never thought he was, you know what I mean? And I don't think he thinks he is.
He's like, I'm just chill.
He has no idea. To be at a place like this was so foreign. It was like being at Disneyland. He's looking around.
Oh, he's like, this is amazing.
And the people that were there. And
yes.
So my first clue was when we pull up, we
all
park.
You can eat for $9.99.
Well, they're $16.99 now.
Oh, well.
Still,
big spender.
Yeah. So was that the place opened at 11. We got there at 11:30.
Okay.
And it was packed.
Wait, what?
There was a line.
Really? You're like, we don't have time for this.
And I was like, wow. I'm like, okay, maybe that's a good sign. I'm like, because there's a lot of people. I'm like, but then as I'm looking, but there was a small handful of folks who were standing right outside the front entrance of the restaurant.
What is happening?
Smoking cigarettes.
Oh.
And they were large people.
All right.
And just what you would expect. So we get in. Fortunately, the first thing was the entire staff barely spoke English. They were all Asian. So I thought that was a good sign.
It is a good sign.
Yes. So, but everybody who was in line was white and fat, huge. I mean, and walkers and, many old people. And so as I'm standing there in line, I'm like, my alert is going off, abandon, leave, but I'm like, we're out of time. I'm like, we're here.
We have to get a plate of food.
Jeff is looking around with these huge eyes, like, where are we? And why are we here? And I'm laughing. And as we're standing there, I go, Aunt Jamie would kill me right now. He's like, what? I go, she would not even believe that we're here. He's like, why? I go, we'll talk about it later. He's like, why do we have to talk about it later? Because we're surrounded by, we can't be
offensive.
Right. I go, there's too many people around. He goes, well, whisper it. I'm like, no.
Jeff, shut up.
He was like, what do you mean?
Tell me everything. And I'm like, can we get to our booth, please?
Oh my God. So yeah. So it was my son's first experience.
Wow.
And he was so cute. He got
gluttony.
He got like one chicken saute, one little skewer.
Yep.
He got a chicken wing. There were a few weird things because it's an Asian buffet.
Yeah, so there's probably sushi and all kinds of stuff.
I got all the sushi and it was shockingly good.
Of course it was good. Actually, I've heard really good things about that place, to be fair.
I was so surprised.
I heard it was very fresh because they go through it so quickly. They have to make more.
But then of course there was a whole line of Chinese food,
yes.
everything. There were oysters, there were mussels, there were clams, there were so many different things.
You were probably in heaven.
Well, yes and no. I was a little hesitant. I'm like, I don't know, about the whole
the shellfish thing. You got to be careful.
I'm a little scared. Yeah, I'm like, I just don't know. But the funnest part of it was watching the people.
Oh yes,
in heaven.
Yes,
piling on, and they give you these smaller plates.
Yeah, they do that on purpose,
of course. And they were acting like they hadn't eaten in 10 years. The amount of food they would put on one plate, and I'm like, you can go back as many times as you want.
The buffet brings out very feral.
Oh my God. People were pushing. Somebody swiped my shoulder. I'm like, sir, like, you're going to get the Szechuan chicken in just 1 minute. I'm just,
God, it's very.
And by the way, there's a trough of it. I'm not taking the last chicken.
Nor would I, by the way. If it's only,
I didn't even take any. No. I was like casually strolling. God. I wasn't stopping and lollygagging. I wasn't standing there being annoying for 10 minutes. No, just couldn't get there fast enough.
I just have such a problem with waiting in line in front of food like that. Like,
it was huge, by the way.
I
Jamie.
understand.
It was like a Las Vegas buffet. It was giant.
I was going to say, I
left and went to a less populated area.
Oh,
I'm like,
for sure.
Look, have the fucking mussels, all right, lady?
I'm going to go to the veggies, okay? Because I know none of you are all over here.
My son was at the fruit all alone. He was
no
the
one
only
likes
one.
Fruit?
He was the only one who took a banana. It was so cute.
That's hilarious. They're probably like
strawberry covered banana.
They're probably like, oh look, someone's finally taking fruit. Oh, thank God.
He took the pineapple. He took a banana.
We're not gonna have to take home all the fruit tonight.
It was so cute.
Someone ate it.
He's like, Mom, I'm going to the fruit bar. I'm like, oh, good job, son.
Yeah, the buffet situation is not something that I'm about. I've seen the Vegas people invade those places,
and those ones are expensive too.
When I'm talking, seeing waffles and fried chicken and crab claws piled on top of each other, I'm like, what are we doing? What is this? This is why people hate America. By the way, this is
It was the epitome.
There is no buffet in the UK, that I've ever seen.
Well, I saw when they did a documentary on it because it was so infamous because they don't have them and people don't eat that way.
They're like, why do people?
That they literally made a show about it.
What a surprise! People are like in Germany going, do you see this? Like they think that we drink too much beer. Look at what they're doing. This is crazy.
God, it was hilarious.
It's like gluttony.
So that was the best part of it. Was the
people watching.
Yes, and my son's reaction in his face.
Okay, one time I did because this place gets good reviews.
I'm sure it does.
So one time,
if you're a horse, come on in.
Daryl and I were like, let's do something, because sometimes we'll go do something really bizarre for food. And it's me. I'm always like, like, have you ever been to Black Angus? And he's like, well, yeah, like in the 90s.
I know. See, I should have gone there.
I'm like, let's go. He goes to Black Angus. I go, yeah, let's go. So we went. Horrible. Oh. It's exactly as you recall.
Oh, good. I'm so glad I didn't go.
I got a burger and I'm like, why does it have a hole in it? Like, because it was frozen and yeah.
Oh, God. Really?
Daryl, yeah, it wasn't great. I mean, honestly, I will say this about, well, who gets a burger at the steakhouse? I mean, get a freaking steak. That's true. But Daryl and I were having a blast, They
do have good drinks there.
So they have a membership program. Oh, frequent flyer program, basically.
For all the old people.
So this couple, they're like, yeah, well, we're members. And they pull out their card. And I'm like, what's a membership? Who gets a membership to Black Angus? This is amazing. And they're like.
People who are retired who eat out every day.
They weren't that old, Stephanie. And so they're just like, well, we understand that we get free sodas with this. And I'm like, okay.
Okay, no.
I just can't.
Absolutely not.
And they're like, it's all you can eat, like,
well,
salad or whatever. And I'm like, okay.
Oh my God.
So Daryl, I'm like, we gotta go.
We want another basket of bread.
We're members. I will say this because we went ironically. We thought it would be hilarious just to go.
Yeah. Oh my God. We've almost gone a whole bunch of times.
People started looking at us because they could tell that we were there ironically, and they're just like, what the fuck are they doing here? Are they judging us? I'm like, I am so judging you, but I'm trying just to eat my burger and then we're gonna leave. It'll be fine. The manager came on.
What the hell?
Yes.
You obviously had that look about you.
Well, we weren't like, I wasn't evil eyeing anyone.
There's no way you're going to complain at a place like that. You're like, look, this is what we get, you know?
No, and I told him, I'm like, look, you know, and so like the manager came over. He's like, is everything all right? I mean, and he might have been 25.
Really?
In a little blue button up,
he's like,
short
this is
sleeve.
the best job I've ever had. Well, I was the manager at Togo's before Black Angus.
This is an intro into fine dining, right? And so he's like, is everything great? I'm like, yeah, everything's great. We love it, you know, and I'm always super positive.
Yeah, gotta be.
We got a great waitress, you know, because they're just working.
Honestly.
They have nothing to do with the riffraff. They're just like we're just living our lives.
Exactly.
And I worked in restaurants. I know exactly what they're going through. And so to me, I'm like, I'm going to be a delight. And I'm going to tip the shit out of you. Don't you worry.
And they're in the back of the kitchen. Yeah, the food sucks. We all know it. Yeah. Why would you come here?
We eat it. We know. So anyway, but we
I would never eat the loaded potato soup.
So I was looking up, I was trying to find more ironic places that we could dine. That's funny. This buffet came up. And so I was looking at the.
Oh, God, don't do it.
I was like, no, I didn't.
Want to slit your own throat.
I will tell you why. Because I looked up the thing. I'm like, well, the reviews are pretty good. And then you see all the pictures that people take. And I'm like, okay.
It was exactly what you think.
I said, the
fried food section was like a mile long.
I said,
no shit. I couldn't even identify what anything was.
I said, the food looks fresh.
It was.
Everything looks clean.
Nothing tasted weird.
But the patrons are a bit off-putting.
That was it. And the funny thing is
I go, it's Meth City or other. No, there's no in between. There's no normies there. No. It's just buffet people, no buffet. Yeah. And I'm like,
it's so true.
I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not going to get shouldered by someone who's trying to get at the Szechuan. That's not happening.
So Jeff and I were so out of place, and I felt it too. I really did.
They're like, you're not from here.
No, that was the looks we were getting. It got to the point to where people stopped making eye contact with us because they were like, yes, I am shuffling away with 6 pounds of food on this plate. And we see that you're only eating like normal portions. Listen, so why are you here?
I am not opposed to public shaming. All right. I'm not.
So I'm laughing.
Buffets should not exist.
I'm telling you, I'm basically laughing off and on the whole time, you know, because there were so many aha moments for me.
Sure.
My son, bless his heart, is so naive.
And he's just like, this is the greatest day of my life.
No, he was not.
Oh.
He was not actually.
Great banana, Dad.
Yeah. I mean, because, you know, we're normal. Like, we don't eat troughs of food, you know?
I know. I can't. Every time I've been in an all-you-can-eat place, I'm like, I'm not going to eat enough of food to quantify this price.
I was really grateful it was only $15.99 or whatever it was.
That is good.
Yeah, so I told Jeff, especially for the sushi, because I was very, very surprised how good it was.
That's not even a half of a roll.
And I told him that. I go, you know what? The last time I ordered sushi for myself, it was $80.
Yeah, I'm so like, expensive.
And I still was like, I want another roll, you know?
Yeah,
because I'm a glutton when it comes to sushi.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, it was the best $16 I ever spent.
Oh, it was probably amazing.
Yeah. So
yes.
Anyway, at the end, we're you know, and they were really good about clearing the plate, so we didn't have a bunch of shit on there. You know what I mean? It was good.
Yep, they go quick.
And at the end, I was like, well, you know, I definitely would not come back here again.
No.
I go, it wasn't the worst thing we've ever done. He's like, yeah, no, I wouldn't come back here again. He's like, this is just way too much.
It's a lot of food, man.
It's so
and if you're not a big,
how can you eat that?
I don't know. If you are not someone who can really eat at a meal, buffets feel unnecessary.
So unnecessary.
Like I've been to places where I go in starving, and you have a better appetite than even me.
Yeah,
and I go in
on what it is.
Yeah. And I go in, I'm like, I'm gonna have like the biggest steak. I'm gonna have this or that. Yeah. It's always steak that I crave, and I'm like, I want like this big ass steak, and I never can do it.
Yeah.
And I always end up taking it all home, and I feel bad because it's like,
I love that I've gotten to that point in my life where I don't eat with my eyes as much as I used to.
Yeah, I can't.
And I've learned the lesson so many times where I feel so wasteful. Like, I'm like, God,
I hate it.
Like, I needed everything. You know, I needed all 10 things. I want all the appetizers and all this.
I know.
And then I can't even eat half of it. And I'm like, what was I thinking?
By the time your meal comes, you're like, I'm
not a whale, despite the fact that I feel like one. I'm like,
Daryl said, he goes, yeah, this woman, they said, well, why are so many people in like China or Asia, why are they so thin and small?
They live on vegetables for one.
Well, that, and they also train apparently themselves that they eat until they're like 80% full.
Yeah.
They don't eat till they're full.
Right.
They only eat until they're like, I'm almost full. And then they stop because your body starts to digest and
it really
does. Get full.
Yeah. And it swells too. The food in your stomach gets bigger.
As it's digesting, and then you're full. So like, I stopped taking seconds even when I cooked. I don't do seconds.
There are certain things that I love so much. I can't think of anything right now off the top of my head.
But if you make something, you're like,
it depends. Yeah, I mean, I know I have a list of like maybe 2 or 3 things.
Yeah.
That if you put it in front of me, I'm gonna be in trouble because I just will eat until I'm like sick because it's so good.
Daryl does that all the time.
Yeah, I don't do it all the time, but there's a few things.
If I make him soup, he's like, I had 5 bowls. I'm like, why? He goes, it's so good, I can't help myself. I'm like, the last time I ate something that was so good that I couldn't help myself, I was pregnant.
Yeah,
I was pregnant with Mackenzie, and I could not get enough nectarines.
Oh my god!
And so
I
bought like 10 pounds of nectarines. Oh, Stephanie! And I was
so
like
sick.
I was like 4 or 5 months pregnant, and I just could not get enough nectarine. And if you've ever been pregnant, you have those weird cravings. You know completely. So
Absolutely.
I would cut up the nectarines. I'd put them in little wedges. I'd put them in a bowl, and then I would just sit there and eat them. I was so full and so sick from the acidity of the nectarines. I literally went. I picked one wedge up, and I'm like, I want this so bad. My mouth was watering, and I'm all, and I ate it.
You're like practically crying.
I ate it. I was like, oh God, this is so good.
Like, I can't stop.
It is the worst.
It's awful. It's a compulsion.
It is so bad. I was like that. And like with
worst.
Tyler, it was cranberry juice.
Oh my God.
And I threw up gallons of cranberry juice.
It's the worst. God, it's so acidic.
Oh God. What is it with the acidity in me? I don't know.
It must have been your body's craving whatever.
I know. And with Malia, it was raspberries, and I threw them up repeatedly. And to this day, I can't eat raspberries.
I don't think I really did that with either of my pregnancies. When I was pregnant with Lauren,
you did pickles.
I did. With Lauren, it was one time, and I literally was on the phone with my best friend, and I ate an entire jar of pickles, and I didn't even think about it. She's like, "You're gonna regret that."
Yeah,
I'm like,
"No."
I'm like, they're so good.
They're
I'm
salty and
I'm
yummy.
not even that full. I'm like, I feel great, and then
they're just cucumbers.
I had to hang up. She's like, "You're gonna throw up, are you?" I'm like,
Oh
"Click."
no!
Yes, I did.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it was funny that you were telling me that after you had retrieved your husband today,
oh God, my son,
that your son was just like me. Now I
didn't realize he was like you, but until you told me.
Yeah. So like we have cremated every pet we've ever had, and so when Sunny came home, which is my dog,
right?
I instinctually, without even thinking about it, immediately ripped open and looked at his ashes. Immediately.
See,
I don't know why I did it either, because it was weird. And Daryl's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I had to see them." I don't know why. I needed to see them. And he's like, "Okay." And I go, "Look how interesting." And I'm like, "Does anybody else want to see it?" They're like, "No." And I'm like, "Okay."
My son wanted to see his dad.
I put everything away. And so it's interesting that your son did what I wanted to do.
Yeah, but I didn't let him. And
not yet.
I didn't want to do it. It wasn't because
for you.
Call me selfish, but I just wasn't prepared.
I think you're allowed, Stephanie.
Open it right that moment so he could, satisfy his curiosity. But
I think he can grant you the grace.
But I did, yes, I did open the lock of hair.
Oh,
so and I don't know why. It was because when we were much younger, when Jerry and I were young. Many moons ago, we were together for 27 years. So a long time ago, when he was younger, he had blonde hair. And it reminds me of my son. Now that we have a son.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But he had naturally blonde hair. And it was always long, and so it was just like his thing. Like, was the thing I always remembered. And so when he died, that was like one of the things I wanted. I was like, yeah, his hair, like that will be a thing that I can remember fondly, and that won't make me sad. And a thing that I can keep. So, and it reminds me so because his dad and Jerry and my son have the exact same color hair, like
very golden.
Now, when Jerry got older, his hair did get darker, but for most of his life, it was very, very blonde. And my son has the most beautiful blonde hair. And it's gotten a little bit darker over the years, but it's still pretty blonde. So anyway, I opened that. And they put it in like this little pouch with like the drawstrings that you pull that make it close. And they bound the top with like a ribbon so that it wasn't just like a wad of hair.
I was wondering.
I mean? So it was a true lock. Okay. And so I pulled it out of the little, nice. It was nice. So I pulled it out and it was kind of messy and stuff. And
Did
I'm
you
like,
brush it?
I didn't brush it, but I used my fingers to straighten it to where it was an actual lock, like a little, and I was looking at it and I'm like, is this Dad's hair? Because I just wanted to make sure, you know what I mean? I don't know why.
No. Fair.
I just had a thing, and Jeff's like, yeah, that's totally Dad's hair. Like he 100% knew that was his dad's hair. And I was like, okay. Well, then I smelled it.
Did it smell like him?
No, it smelled like the bag they put it in.
Ah, shit.
So, because you could tell it was new when they had like opened it and like, so I'll probably air it out
and see if
the
essence
it
returns.
Will. Right. And it probably won't.
It might. Put it in like a pillowcase or
something. Yeah. So I did it and then I was like, oh no, it smells like the bag. And then I did it again and Jeff's like, why are you doing that?
None of your business.
Like,
Shut up.
He wanted to know why. Why do you keep smelling it, Mom?
Because I want to smell your father, okay?
I'm like, yeah. The same reason why the night that Jerry died, I immediately went to the laundry and I got all of his shirts out of there.
I didn't even think about that.
I did it that night because I was like, you know what?
I don't want to wash him.
I don't want to wash them and I'll forget and I don't want it to smell like the basket because I have a wicker basket. And I was like, so I immediately took them out.
I didn't even think
of
that.
And I kept them and I have them.
That's lovely.
And so, so for however long that lasts, I'm sure it will eventually.
You know what? I mean, this is really terrible, but some moms keep their children's clothes and they never stop smelling
Many
like them.
people do that. That's actually not a terribly uncommon thing to do.
It didn't even occur to me, but then again, obviously I know I would if it was Daryl for sure.
Yeah. And the thing is he was always so anal about doing his laundry. There was 2 shirts. Like everything else was dirty or clean. I mean,
oh
clean.
God. Well, you know what? That's plenty.
So,
that's good.
And one of the things I didn't tell you last week when we were talking about this was that I asked for very little. We didn't have a service. I didn't want, this and that and everything. I asked for a lock of his hair, which I actually kind of decided last minute.
Yes.
Like it wasn't even a thing I was going to do, but then I was like, just do it. And then if you don't,
I'm so glad that they asked because I am too. I didn't think about it either.
The fingerprints I ended up changing my mind about.
Yes.
And his clothes. Those were the 3 things I wanted.
Yes.
They burned his clothes.
No.
So I was actually really upset about that when he came back to tell me that they
he was in them.
That they were in them. I almost started crying, but I didn't because I had my son with me. And Madison, who was our original girl, she was on lunch, so she didn't do it. She had her colleague come, who I had never met. So I didn't want to start crying in front of him. It wasn't his fault.
No, he was just relaying information.
Yeah, it was her fault actually, but whatever.
Yeah.
So I truly was like, that really did make me sad because I really, really wanted that hoodie that he was wearing. And
I do remember that.
He wore it every day.
I remember that conversation with her, with the lady at the funeral home. I remember that he wanted it back.
And his 501s, because the man only wore 501s. That's all he ever wore.
Because he was a tall drink of water.
And the 30 years I was with him, it was the only thing he ever wore. So I wanted those, and they were brand new. I had just bought them for him.
Well, damn it.
I just wanted them. I don't know why,
It doesn't have to, no explanation necessary.
Yeah, so I was really upset that I didn't get those, but as Jeff and I were walking around the cemetery after that, in my mind, I was processing that because I was really upset. And whenever I don't get my way and it's something that really means to me, I really wanted to go in there and be mad.
Yeah,
be like, look, this was fucking, do you know how much money and I asked you for 3 things.
Yeah.
None of which were things that you had to do anything.
That's right.
Other than give me possessions that were mine. My husband's hair, his fingerprints, and his clothes. That's all I asked you for. You couldn't fucking do those 3 things for the amount of money. And I will not say how much it was, but it was absurd.
Yeah, it was a little excessive.
Well, it is what it is. Anybody who's been through,
they know.
That's how much it costs.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, that's the VIP shit then. This is what we pay. This is why you're allowed to charge people this much money.
That's right.
Because you give them all the things they ask for.
That's right.
So anywho, as we're walking around,
your ears are ringing and you're furious, and Jeff's like, hey.
My son's talking about everything else and around us, and I'm trying to be focused and present and, and I'm talking to him and everything, but in my mind was like, God damn it, those motherfuckers, And so then I was like, you know what? I go, do you know what, Jeff? I was really upset that they didn't give me Dad's clothes because I really wanted them.
Yeah.
I'm like, but now that I'm thinking about it, Dad would have hated having that happen naked.
Yeah.
I'm like, he really would have been like, I don't want to be naked on that board, or whatever it is.
It's like, honestly, can I have a little dignity?
Right?
Yeah.
I said, so you know what? Maybe what's meant to be is what's meant to be. Yeah. I'm not saying it happened for a reason because I don't believe in shit like that. But at the end of the day, you know what? I can live with the fact that my husband was not naked when he was cremated.
He was in his favorite hoodie.
He was in the same things he always wore.
Yeah, and that's how he would want it to be.
Like his normal self. Yeah.
And it's so nice that he was so clear.
It really has been a blessing.
Like, there's been no questions. No. And I love the way your daughter said it. She's like, well, you know what? He made the decision for you. You don't have to think about it anymore.
That's what she said to me.
And I absolutely love that she said that to you. I do too.
My God. So right. Like, talk about clarity.
She's like the smartest little,
my sweet
young
little
old soul.
She's always been like that.
God, her and Tyler both are very old souls.
What did we do to them?
I don't know, but we used to call him a little old man.
I know.
Remember? He had a song.
And but Lauren and Tyler were like two peas in a pod.
God. Well, they're only 4 months apart.
They were like Siamese twins growing up. They were so cute.
I told my kids, I go, look, I just want you to know when one of you gets pregnant, double sure that everything's good, because I'm telling you what, there's something about siblings. One goes and then the other.
And even a sibling. Oh my God, so true.
I don't want to be an instant grandmother. Mom, I'm pregnant. Oh, I am too. What?
I'm supposed to be happy about being a grandmother?
Somebody goes, she was a narcissist. I'm like, you think? You think she was?
Does this mean you won't be knitting the baby any booties?
He was such an asshole.
Every time you get two drinks in you confront me, and I will not have it. Not in this house. Not in this house. God, she's so mean mother, though. I mean, like, she's so mother, actually.
Our mother, I know.
I just wish Mom had the money to go with it. I always said that.
So true.
Anyway.
You and I need to remember, we were talking, the first time we went to the funeral home together, we were outside and we were talking about childhood stories.
Oh, yeah. And Daryl's like, why?
You guys have to talk about this on the show. Do you remember?
Well, we were older. Oh, well, we were talking about, we were talking about how we both locked our babies in the car separately. Like you locked Tyler in the... What car was it? I can't remember.
My truck.
Your black Toyota.
Yes.
And I locked my daughter in my red Mazda RX-7. And they were like tiny.
Oh my God.
Practically
terrifying.
Newborns.
I think everybody does that though, right?
I don't know, because Daryl seemed pretty shocked that we had both done it.
We were so young, Stephanie.
I know.
We were children. What were we thinking?
I don't know. And the other thing is that people have to put it in context. We both had our kids in the early 90s.
We did.
Lauren was born in 92.
Oh, yeah, you're right. No, you're right. Yes.
Tyler was born in 92 as well.
Yes.
Our kids are 5 months and 1 day apart. Exactly.
God. And you and I did everything on the same timeline.
Well, we were alone. We were totally by ourselves.
We were
completely alone. And so I
can't believe we
survived. I can't remember who did it first.
Me.
You did it first.
But you weren't there.
Damn it. How did I do it again? How did I not learn the lesson that...
Well, the condo that we were living in was right next door to the fire department.
Yeah, literally, like we shared the lawn.
Like you could jump the link fence.
Was there a fence? Oh, there was a
chain link fence,
but it was waist high.
Oh yeah, it was. It wasn't
like a 6-foot fence or anything.
I locked him in, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Because I mean, they're in car seats, and we're young and wild, and so I immediately jumped the fence. I'm like, "Can someone help me?" And they're like, "Oh my God!" And when a woman comes blowing in,
oh yeah.
Or a girl.
Frantic.
I was a girl. They're like, what? And they're like, they're like, all right, okay. Yeah. Where are you? I'm like, right there. They're like, right there?
Like, we don't even have to.
20 feet? I'm like, yes, please. And they're like, okay.
Did they hop the fence for you?
They did.
Okay.
No, they did not do the whole, yeah. Not like you.
Well, so we had, like she said, like you're saying, we had a condo, and it was, our condos were upstairs, downstairs. They were fourplexes, basically.
Yes, they were actually quite nice.
They were really nice. Yeah. So we had a next door neighbor upstairs, and we were on the second floor.
Yes,
and then we had two neighbors below us. And they were next door to each other.
Right.
And the garage was a shared garage, and you only got one space. So you got one space in the garage, and then you could park in the driveway behind your space. So we never had enough room to park because there was 10 of these things lined up. So I had to park my car on the street. And I don't remember back in the day, like especially at our age, you have a lot of shit when you have a newborn. You have the fucking diaper bag and your purse and all your things, all the stuff, the blankets, all the things you have to carry back and forth to the car. And we were never prepared. I wasn't. I never did anything right. I wasn't organized.
None of us were.
No. So I was like forgetting something, and I'm like, God damn it. And Lauren was asleep in her little cradle car seat, and she was already locked in. So I was like, I'm just gonna lock her in and run to the condo to grab whatever feet away,
probably
to get
whatever
like it was.
Bottle or
I don't
whatever.
remember. And when you're locking the kid, and back then, you didn't keep your car seats in the car all the time.
No, you took them out with you.
It had a handle.
Yeah,
and you carried the baby, into the grocery store, into whatever,
everything.
So every time you went somewhere, you were locking the kid in the car, and when you're doing the seatbelt and all that, you have to put your stuff down.
Yes,
right. So I had put my keys on the floorboard while I was locking the car seat.
Right.
Locked the door because I was like, no one's going to get her while I run in and grab whatever.
Right.
And left the fucking keys in the floorboard.
And locked it.
God damn it. To this day, I can remember that so clearly. Like I immediately, you shut the door and you're like, fuck. Like as soon as I shut the door, I knew.
You did it. You're like, oh no.
Oh my God. I'm like, what do I do? Do I walk away from the car and go to the fire station? And I didn't want to walk away from the car because I'm like, someone's going to bust the glass and steal.
Oh, I know.
Knowing now what I know is like, I'm not stealing your infant child.
No one wants the child.
I don't want to fucking take care of a kid.
No.
You know?
Nobody wants the baby.
Are you kidding?
No.
But you think everyone's trying to steal your child when you're, new mother.
Well, good parents tend to be that way.
Yeah. So I did the same thing you did. I ran over there.
Well, help me. They're like, what is going on
oh my God,
there?
That's so funny, too, because I didn't even... I probably did know you did it.
Although they were extra bored when you went over there.
So they came out lights and sirens. And the whole goddamn thing. The big
all the neighbors come out. What's going on?
And I'm bawling like an idiot, you know.
Oh my God.
I'm so scared. And
you know what? I love firefighters for that very reason.
Oh my God.
They are, first of all, they're very attractive. Second,
every goddamn one of them.
All of them.
I've yet to see an ugly one.
No such thing.
No.
I'm pretty certain it's a requirement.
Part of the thing, yeah.
When I hear of men who don't make it as a firefighter, I'm like, well, because you're ugly. That's the only reason. You're ugly. They don't want you.
It's the worst combination though, because when you need the fire department, you're at your worst.
Always.
You're either dying or there's something terrible going on or your house is on fire or something awful. And you have to have these gorgeous men show up when you're at your worst. Why?
I just love that they came with the full regalia for you.
Oh my God.
You're like, oh God, thank you.
They must have thought it was so funny too.
They were just like, hey, we're bored. We wanted to do it anyway. Why not?
Why not? It's good practice.
The last time that I had to call 911 was when Malia got really, really sick and she passed out.
Oh God.
And it was so scary because she was white as a ghost. I thought she was dying. I literally did not know what I was doing. Called 911. It was like 8 a.m. and Daryl was commuting. He was in the city at the time. He was in San Francisco. So I called. Well, it was a slow day at the station.
Uh-oh.
So I had 8 firemen in my bedroom.
Oh yeah, fun.
They're all over 6 feet tall. Hey, well, what's going on here? And I'm just like, oh my God.
It's the worst.
And then the young one.
And you're out of your mind because you're worried.
Well, yeah, because but the thing is you know you probably know everything's going to be okay.
Oh, yeah.
So you're side-eyeing.
There's a part in your mind that's going, these men
are very attractive.
And what do I look like right now? I am a fucking hot mess.
I look like shit.
It's
no bra, everything. And they're like, well, she definitely needs to go to the hospital. She looks like shit. She needs IVs or whatever. So we're like, okay. So we get in, and the runt of the litter, he's in the ambulance with us, and I'm like, well, this is exciting. And of course, Daryl's already on his way home.
Of course. Oh
and
my God,
I'm like, he goes, yeah, well, I'm new. I'm like, oh, I can tell. I'm like, well, you
don't have the hot factor yet.
Yeah, you don't have that swagger that the other ones do.
God, I think part of the reason
that life-saving swagger.
They're so confident.
Yeah, because they've saved lives. Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, you have to be. Yeah, you can't.
They're like, well, we'll let you get this one, Chief.
Right.
Thanks.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, I mean, we love our first responders. We're very grateful for them and what they do. But I'd be really happy not to see one for a while. It's funny because my situation happened a few weeks ago, and today I'm sitting in my room getting ready to come over here actually, and I see the fucking fire truck pulling my court.
You're like, no,
with the lights on. And now you've been to my house. I live in a tiny little court.
Yeah,
so nothing happens.
There's like 6 houses.
Yes. So when a giant ass fire truck pulls
something,
we all fucking see. Yeah. Like there's no way to not see it.
Right.
And so I'm like, oh shit. So then I'm like thinking in my mind, like, which one are they going to?
Yep.
And I'm like, God, we
definitely
just went
not
through
mine.
this with my house. Yeah. I knew it wasn't me, but it ended up being my next door neighbors, and they ended up taking somebody out of the house by ambulance.
Oh no.
And my heart just broke for them because I remember the night that my situation happened. One of my neighbors came out, and she was frantic. Like, she saw me crying and hysterical on my lawn, and she wanted so desperately to do something because she just felt so bad for me.
Yeah.
But everybody was already there, the police and all that.
Yeah.
So there was nothing to do. But it was just so sweet of her to be like, what can I do? Can I help you? Do you need a ride? And I'm like, no, what? So then when I see them today, and I'm like, oh my God, these poor people. I'm like, now they're going through something, and I pray. I'm like crossing my fingers and like praying that nothing
maybe they just.
I hope it's just
something.
I don't know.
Benign.
I don't know.
You're going to find out eventually.
But now I'm all like, extra sensitive to,
Oh, I don't blame you.
Seeing something like that,
Our neighbor Fran, she's in her 90s, and I found out she has dementia, which I did not know, which is really sad. But she has round the clock care.
Yeah, I know.
But we probably get an ambulance visit a good 2 or 3 times a year because she gets anxiety, and they're like, whatever.
You never know.
And we're just always so terrified this is going to be the one. Yeah. Because we love her so much, and we love her daughter and everything. And so we're just like, oh, God, But so far, so good.
Well, yeah, especially when you get to that age. And my neighbors, it's funny because, we've talked about how antisocial we all are and how, you know who your neighbors are. You definitely recognize them, and they know you, and we know them. But we don't like bullshit and like hang out or anything. No. So after my husband died, my one neighbor, bless her heart, she had the balls to come over and knock on my door. And I know it was hard as fuck for her because it would have been hard for me.
Yeah.
And she brought me a tray of brownies that she baked. Oh,
that's so nice.
And she brought me a $75 gift card for Safeway.
Wow.
And she brought me a card that she had signed.
So lovely.
And it was just the sweetest thing. And she's like, I don't have any words because it's so awkward.
It is so hard.
But she wanted me to know how sorry she was. Yeah. And how much she cared. And
that's so
I was so grateful for her. And I was like, that is literally the sweetest thing. I'm like, and she goes, and I know, $75 isn't a lot of money for the Safeway or whatever, but she goes, if it helps you and your son get through like today and tomorrow, so you don't have to think about it. She's like, that brings me joy.
You know what? We had talked about this when you were dealing with this situation. And Daryl and I were doing a show. And come to find out, we are terrible neighbors. And I'm kind of repeating, but I'm going to, because you didn't hear it, so I'm going to tell you the story, is Daryl was taking the garbage cans out. This was about a month or so ago. And he said, I just wanted to let you know that Bodega had died. And, it was like 2 days after New Year's. And so we're like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I had to put down one of our dogs. And we did it. I basically had to do it right after my husband died.
Oh, God. And you didn't even know?
And Daryl goes, did you know that our neighbor died? I'm like, who? And he goes, and I don't want to say the name.
Yeah.
And I go, when? He goes, October. And I'm like
a long time.
How did we not know? And I go, well, did you apologize for not knowing? He goes, no, I just pretended that I knew. And I'm like, okay.
Oh my God.
I'm like, we're the worst neighbors.
Well, I mean, she may have known that because I'm telling you, I have run into people that it was very obvious to me that they did not know. Yeah. By the way they were talking to me.
Yes, she probably figured it out with Daryl. Luckily it was in the dark of night, so maybe he was
or maybe she was just being kind, like maybe. That was I don't know if I were her and I knew that he didn't know and I saw his reaction, I'd be like, aw, like he didn't want to be insensitive and pretend, you know what I mean?
I'm just like, does nobody want to share anything with us, or are we so far removed? Because honestly, Stephanie, we're like 30 years younger than everybody in the neighborhood.
No, I get it.
So it's like these people are all very much older than we are. Like Fran is 90.
I get it.
And we've been here for 12 years. And so it's like, they are going to start passing away. I mean, he's not even the first one.
No, I know.
So it's like, I just think we're shitty. Like we need to do we need to do stuff? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Nobody likes to do anything because they're old.
It's just the way it is.
They just want to live their lives.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like whatever interactions you do have with your neighbors and
it's always
for sure me, like now, because I've had my other neighbor who I thought hated me because none of us talk,
Right.
She, for Christmas last year, not last year, but the year before, she just randomly came over and brought me cookies and like it was all wrapped in like Christmas wrap and everything. Nice. And she's just like, I just wanted to do something nice for you guys. You guys have been such great neighbors. And I was like, oh, the fuck? I was shocked. And I'm like, you know what? These people are genuinely like nice people that I live with. We may not talk to each other. We don't, whatever, but when push comes to shove, we are all, we hate to think that we're being nosy. We're not being nosy.
No, and you know what?
We live feet from one another.
I will say this, and it's not political really, but a lot of people, there's so much anxiety about what's going on the national stage right now, regardless of how you voted or what you think. It's very anxiety. Every day is breaking news. Yeah. It's awful. It's a horrible place to be, right? To live in your brain. But the reality is that that's why you have to reach out to your neighbors. You need to know what your community is because that's where you're going to find some kind of solace or some kind of like, okay, it's okay where I am at. Yeah. It's good here. Everybody cares about everybody, period.
Oh my God.
And so that's so maybe true. That's the thing, you just have to kind of like, you know, we're the worst, but it's like, you've got to, like, everybody loves Daryl. He's so friendly.
Oh, he is.
And they're like,
He's
oh, and your bitch wife, you know, because Stephanie, no.
Maybe.
I'm not mean to anyone.
Me too, though.
But I'm just very elusive.
Same.
Like, I'm like, no, he's the nice one. You want to talk to him. I mean, everybody knows his name and number. They call and text him all the time. And I'm like, who texted you? He goes, oh, you know, the other 7944. I'm like, excuse me? You know who they are? He goes, yes, we exchange mail. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so out of the loop.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
can't be anymore, though.
Shockingly, I'm the one that have neighbors' phone numbers because I had hers. And so that was weird.
That's so nice.
But yeah, it was just very
making
sweet.
some effort.
She also gave me a little tea that I didn't know about because she's owned that house for, oh my God, 25, 30 years. So
I'd be like, give me the tea of people I don't know. I love it.
No, it wasn't the good kind. It was like, it kind of messed with me, but but I was over it in like 2 seconds. But no, she basically told me that because I said, well, now you know that I'm alone. I'm like, so if you ever see anybody like creeping around, or I'm like, and I work, and now, you know, obviously Jerry's not going to be home anymore because there was always somebody at home. I'm like, let me know. And we exchanged. I had her husband's phone number, not hers. Oh, cool. And so she gave me hers, and she's like, for sure. She's like, you know, that's why I have, because I lived alone for so long. She goes, she has her entire front porch is wrought iron fenced in, and it looks kind of weird, but it's good. So you cannot, it's a security gate, but and then it's got sides that are the same as a security gate, and so when you open that, then you get to the front door.
Oh, so there's a barrier.
There's a barrier to the front door, yes, and so it's like a porch, and it looks a little weird, but I
probably doesn't care.
I knew she was a single woman for a really long time, and I'm like, why? You know, I wouldn't take it off either. You know, it's there. Why not?
Yeah.
You know, and so she's like, well, you know, when I bought this house, there were bars on all the windows, all the doors. She goes, and I did take those off. She goes, but the woman who owned the house before me, it was a family. She's like, the Golden State Killer had hit 2 houses in our neighborhood.
That's right.
And I'm like, where? She goes, 2 houses down from me.
Yeah.
That woman was actually one of the very few survivors.
Yes.
He had drug her out of the house and drug her to the creek that's behind her house.
Yeah.
And she escaped.
Yes.
But she would have been dead if she wouldn't have.
He loved our area.
Yes. And so, and then she's like, and then there was another neighbor. She was telling me the other neighbor, she's like,
so they
got raped, but he didn't murder her. And I was like,
it was before he murdered people. Yeah.
Yes.
It was early.
It was. And I was like, oh my God, that's awful. That's so scary. And I was like, I'm so glad he's in prison and everything. She goes, and ever since, she goes, I am too. But before they arrested him, you know, it had been decades. She goes, and now that I know where he lived, because where we lived versus where he lived is blocks, like 2 miles, like so close.
It is close.
I go, I've always wondered if I like ran into him in the grocery store and I never knew. Or
when he worked for a grocery store,
right there, like everything was right there by where we lived. And she's like, and she goes, well, you didn't know that these 2 neighbors that it happened to them. She goes, and they don't live there anymore. But she goes, I always wondered if he came back because you know serial killers are like that.
He did repeat.
Not like they just like to look and remember, like, I went there. I remember that house. Yeah, and it was so close to his house. Yeah. Why wouldn't he?
He loved houses with easements that had a waterway, so he could which is
our house. Like we literally have a creek behind our house.
You know, he's old and
he's in prison now.
I mean, that fool's gonna just outlive us.
But I mean, there were years where I lived at the house that I'm living at where he wasn't in prison.
I know.
So
horrible.
It's terrifying to think. And I know he didn't reoffend, but just the thought of him driving through the neighborhood.
You never know. He could be driving through going, I remember.
Oh, yeah, because they love to relive their terror.
Anyway, on that note.
Side note.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. We'll be back soon. Bye.